All right, we're gonna try it again. I apologize. We had some glitches for the webinar being live. So we're just gonna go ahead and record it. If you do have any questions, please reach out to me. But we are recording the Master Your Next Triathlon specifically for the IguanaMan. So we are here to help support you in any way we can for if this is your first or second or third triathlon. Yeah, so we're here to help you, and let's get started. All right, so are you ready? You better be, because the race is on Sunday. But guess what? We do have a little bit of time to implement some of the things that you might learn today. So again, feel free to reach out to me with any questions. And who's feeling a little anxious? It's completely normal, especially even if this is not your first triathlon, it's normal. It means you care if you are a little bit anxious, but I like to use the word excited instead of anxious. And we're going to try to get these butterflies to, fly in formation. And the goal is to come away with having an idea of what to expect on race day and learn some great tips. So congratulations on taking the time out for yourself to have a better experience, because it is a big deal. I mean, it's 3 sports in one. There are a lot of logistics, and you really have, it's really important to know what's going to happen so that you can be better prepared. So let me know which race you're doing. Obviously, we're not live, so I'm not going to be able to answer this question. I know that the race is a sprint. So let's breathe. Let's settle in. And if you stay to the end or at the end of the webinar, we are going to do a little practice breath work that I recommend doing before the swim to really help calm you down. But let's just breathe right here and now. Sit up real straight in your chair. You maybe have had a hard day at work, and it's time to settle in and learn about the race, right? So let's close your eyes, take a nice deep breath in through your nose, and a big sigh out your mouth. Let's do that one more time. Shake your neck, loosen your jaw, nice deep breath in through your nose, and a big sigh. All right, shake out your hands, maybe wipe off your skin a little bit, shake off that energy, and let's get started. All right, what's in it for you? My goal is for you to come away with useful, helpful information for this race and every race after this one, but never try anything new on race day. So you do have a couple days to practice anything that you might want to try on race day between now and race day. But if it's like, putting your shoes in your clipped in on your bike, you might want to not want to try that until you've practiced that a few times. So you definitely want to just apply what works for you. I'm going to be suggesting things for the future, right? So if this is your first race, like I said, you might want to go out hard on the swim the very first time. You might want to take it easy. So take what resonates with you and apply it. We have time before the race to get more prepared. And the most important place to get prepared, hopefully you've done the training. So there is a certain amount of fitness you need to achieve the goal of crossing the finish line. But honestly, believing that you can do it and having the know-how and logistics between your ears, all the thoughts you're going to have, is really going to help you get across that finish line. You've done the training, and then why not take the time to really, really get prepared for the actual day? And no question is too silly. So if you do have a question, please reply to the email with the webinar in it. Or DM me. I'm available everywhere. We'll get to that where you can reach out to me and stay all the way to the end. As I said, I'll be doing some breath work for you to help you prepare for the race. So who am I? Why the heck am I here? So my name is Erin Guthrie, and I am a Chief Results Officer for Full Circle Coaching. And this is my daughter, Kaya Blue. She's now 18. I think she was 14 or 15 in that picture. But anyway, I have been doing triathlons for a really long time. So I basically started let's go back here. Back in 1997 was my very first triathlon, and I've done over 360 triathlons and endurance events, not just triathlons. And, triathlon is my passion, but I do have a life outside the sport, believe it or not. I do other things besides swim, bike, and run, and that's kind of my specialty. is I combine holistic lifestyle coaching and triathlon coaching so that you can do the sport, but you can also have a life outside the sport. And I teach athletes how to balance their life in the sport. And every new athlete I work with helps me become a better coach. But it is my passion. I have a full staff of coaches down here in Miami, but we do coach athletes worldwide, all over the world, through obviously virtual training programs. And my favorite system of coaching is called Triathlon Transformation. So we offer an online or in-person coaching here in Miami. Triathlon Transformation is a 4-month training program, and it covers everything from the dream. We test and evaluate you, and then we put together a training program, but it also includes nutrition and lifestyle coaching principles, as well as strength and injury prevention, right? So that you don't get burnout. You don't let the sport overtake you. And even if this is your first race, I do have an 8-week beginner try program just to help you. There's a lot to learn. It's 3 sports in one, and there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. And my goal is to help every athlete not just complete one triathlon, but do as many as they desire to without getting injured or burnt out. So I'd love to hear from you. I'm going to give you a way to respond and be a part of the program if you're interested. We are offering a gift to join us for a free week of coaching virtually. So I'd love to help you out. So this is where you can reach out to me. FullCircleCoaching.com is my website. We're on Instagram and Facebook. We have an amazing YouTube channel, and some of the videos that are going to be playing in this webinar are going to be from my YouTube channel. And that's free videos that you can access about swimming, biking, running, and racing. So definitely check it out. I will be handing out some race checklists at the race, and I will be doing a live race clinic on Friday at 2 p.m. I think it's at 1 or 2 p.m. at City Bikes. So if you want more help and want to see me live, I'm happy to see you there. This is just my group in South Florida at one of the regional championships. We did pretty good that day. So I'm just sharing that. So let's get right to it. Race preparation, the week of the race, which is this week, it's really a good idea to reduce your volume of training. Sometimes people get so excited that the race is coming up and they just keep training hard, and then they're too tired. They're actually exhausted by the time the race comes. So the week before the race, you definitely want to do less. You want to sleep more, try to get 8 hours of sleep a night, especially the week before, like the whole week before, because usually the night before the race, you don't sleep that great. You want to get your bike tuned up, make sure there's no chance of a flat tire, maybe get a massage. Write out your race plan. If you don't know what a race plan is, guess what? We're going to talk about it in a minute. So a taper, which is kind of like going into the race week, the longer the race, the longer the taper. So for a sprint triathlon, maybe you only need to rest and recover like 2 to 3 days, or maybe up to 5 or 7 days, depending on how hard you train. But like for an Ironman, maybe one day you're going to do an Ironman, you'll taper that for 2 to 3 weeks, right? So the longer the race, the longer the taper. And it also depends on if it's an A, B, or a C race. And if you don't know what that means, like an A race would be like you're putting all your eggs in your this one basket and you want to have the best race. But you might also have it as a training day. So you might train all week and then do the race, especially if you're trying to train for a longer distance race. So it just kind of depends, what you want to do. But I do recommend at least 2 to 3 days easy before race day. So the day before the race, I also recommend going through a swim, a bike, and a run. If you can do it on the race course, that's even better. But sometimes that's not possible. And you want to include some ORPs, some over race pace sprints. And the reason you want to do that is even though you're not going to go that fast necessarily during the race, you want to, prevent yourself from feeling stale after taking Friday off. Typically you take Friday off before a Sunday race. And those ORPs, those little pickups for 30 seconds to 1 or 2 minutes long can kind of help, shake off the cobwebs and then recover. You don't want to go hard the day before the race. You want to save it for race day, but definitely include a few ORPs and a lot of recovery between them. So I will be handing out these checklists at the packet pickup on Friday. So I love this checklist. I've, as I said, I've done over 360 races, and sometimes I forget things. The most important thing on here is to have a great race and smile. Remember, this is supposed to be fun. So having a checklist can help. I've had every situation happen from having a contact pop out of my eye to forgetting my run shoes. So using the checklist can really, really help. Also creating a race plan. So I do recommend after you get off this webinar today to kind of write out your race plan. You can do it in your notes on your phone. But it does make you have like a map for the day. So write everything out from the morning before the race to the end of the race and include your goals. So if your goal is to maybe swim freestyle the whole swim, or not panic in the swim, or remember to go slow and smooth in the swim, you want to write that out, right? You want to have goals for each section of the race. Use positive process goals, meaning, like I said, maybe kick strong the whole race instead of sometimes you might forget to kick in the swim. Or on the bike, if you have a tri bike, maybe you're going to stay aero the whole bike. So those are process goals. On the run, you might want to think about having, fast arms. When you have fast arms, you typically have fast feet. So those are process goals that you can implement for your race. And then I like to also have mantras for each section of the race. Maybe if you're a newer swimmer, your mantra would be bubble, bubble, breathe, something that you repeat to yourself to help you stay consistent in the goal that you're trying to achieve. So in the race plan, I definitely also recommend including your nutrition. So what you're going to have for breakfast, even actually what you're going to have for dinner the day before the race, what you're going to have for breakfast, your warm up. And if you know this information, your race paces, your heart rate, your power zones for the bike and for the run. And if you want to learn all that stuff, that's where coaching comes in. So maybe this first race is just about showing up and then crossing the finish line, but you might want to get more detailed into the data. Well, that's where I can help you. And so an app that I love to use is called trycalc3.com. And it's a website, it's not really an app. So you can go to the website and I'm going to show a picture of it, but it basically, you can put in your information and it can let you know how long you're going to be out there. And it includes your transitions. And we'll talk about why that's important in a minute. And then also in your race plan, you want to write out any concerns, right? So if you're afraid of getting a flat tire, well, what would you do? You would definitely want to watch a video, maybe on my YouTube channel, about how to change a flat tire, because I have one there. And then the other thing you could do is go to the bike store and make sure your tires are in good shape and they don't have any gashes and they're not worn down. So your chance of getting a flat tire is very low, right? So if you're worried about getting a panic in the swim, I have some tips for you. So you definitely want to plan ahead for any fears or concerns that you might have. You don't want to put it off. You don't want to pretend those things might not happen. You want to be prepared, right? So TriCalc3, you would select the sprint distance triathlon and you would put in the distance of your race. So for this race, it's 500 meters. So you put 500 meters swim. You would put how long you think your transition will take. Typically 2 to 5 minutes is good for a first time transition. Getting it under 2 would be a goal for the future. And transitions are free speed, right? So you don't have to be able to run a 6-minute mile to get a fast transition. You can actually get really good at transition. So it is something to practice. So for the bike on this course, not here, but it's a 10-mile bike loop. We're going to review the course in a minute, and it is a 5K run. And so it gives you your total time here. And why that's important, because it's including the transitions, is it tells you how long you're going to be out there. And it's going to help you fuel properly. And we're going to get into that in a minute. So what are you going to wear? So there's, it's actually funny. I just watched a movie about the swimming, swimming for women and men in 1920s. We used to make people swim with shoes on and big pantaloons and stuff. So we've come a long way with technology in our performance wear. So I definitely highly recommend wearing a tri-suit. And the more that your skin is covered, you can see her sleeve, she has sleeves, you actually go faster, you cut through the water more quickly. And this is, sleeveless, which can be better if it's super hot, and it will be super hot this weekend. And then the option is a one piece. This is all connected. And then this is separate. So this is shorts and a top. And so what are the benefits? The benefits of having the one piece is you're faster. Like you just go through the air and through the water more quickly because there's less seams and stuff like that. And then the 2-piece, the advantage is be able to go to the bathroom without having to take your whole outfit off. So it's kind of preference. And the longer the race, the more I recommend a 2-piece, because if you have to go to the bathroom a few times during like a half Ironman or an Ironman or even an Olympic, you want to be able to take your shorts off kind of easy. But I do love my 1-piece tri suit for sprints. And then speed suit or wetsuit, obviously, as I mentioned, we're not going to be using wetsuits this race, but maybe in the future you will. If you're ever at a race, and it is wetsuit legal, you would want to wear a wetsuit because you're always faster in a wetsuit. It provides buoyancy and it helps you, kind of float more on top of the water, but it does have to be 78 degrees or colder to be legal to wear a wetsuit. And so you can do a speed suit even when it's warm, but the speed suit also helps you go faster, but it doesn't help you with flotation. So it's kind of a cool investment for the future if you do want to go faster on the swim without the wetsuit. Both of these make you faster, but this one you only use this one when it's not cold out or not cold in the water. Okay. So 2 days before the race, I definitely recommend you pick up your packet. So we are going to be at packet pickup, like I mentioned, at City Bikes on Friday. And what's in your packet, right? So we're going to go through, you're going to have a swim cap and it's specific to your age group and your wave start. You're going to get your race numbers, your helmet number, your bike number, your run number. Okay. And your helmet number is the most important number. I'm not sure if they're going to have photographers on the bike course, but if they do, everybody looks the same. So that's why you have a helmet number right on the front of your helmet. And then your bike number goes on the seat tube, which I will be showing you. And then your run number you want to have across the finish line. You must have a run number across the finish line. You don't necessarily have to have a race belt, although I do recommend it. It's a cheap investment. I'll be selling them, and they also have them at City Bikes. But basically, you put your run number on the belt, and then you just put it on when you get to off your bike. You just grab it while you're running and put it on while you're running. You're also going to be given a timing chip. And you want to put your timing chip on your left ankle because, it's made of Velcro and sometimes it can loosen up, and you don't want to wear it on your right ankle because that's where your gears on your bike are. And you would never want to get that, caught up in there. And the timing chip they give you the morning of the race, and that helps you keep track of you on the race course. So it actually tells you how fast you swam and when you crossed the transition line into transition area, and when you got on your bike, when you got off your bike, and when you crossed the finish line. So it gives you all your data. So you definitely don't want to forget to put that on at the race. They used to give your timing chip to you the night before, but then they realized how many people would forget it, right? So swag, there's always something good in there. Like I said, my little tri tips checklist will be there. So this is my tri bag. And I always bring this stuff to every single race. So I always bring an extra set of lights. I usually use a headlamp, especially because I recommend getting to the race site by 5:30 for a 7 a.m. race start or a 6:45 a.m. race start. I always bring my wetsuit, speed suit accordingly if it's warm or if it's cold. Defogger for my goggles. Be careful with that because sometimes the defogger in the goggles can get into your eyes and cause problems. So honestly, I really don't use the defogger as much as I get new goggles for races so that I have clear goggles that don't fog up. I always bring 2 pairs of goggles just in case one breaks. And I like to have a tinted gut pair and a clear pair, depending on the conditions of the race, meaning whether it's cloudy or really, really bright outside. If you have super dark tinted goggles and it's cloudy, it's actually hard to see the buoys. So I do recommend, having both options so I can choose on race day. And then if one breaks, I have an extra pair. I always bring electrical tape just in case something breaks. I used to tape, my gels to the top too, but now I have a little zipper pocket on the top of my bike. Extra food, extra sunscreen. Sometimes races are delayed and you need some extra nutrition before the race starts. So always bring extra gels or an extra bar. And then sunscreen, of course, please use conscious sunscreen, meaning a physical sunblock rather than a chemical sunblock. You don't want to harm yourself with toxic chemicals. Chemical sunscreen is poison, and you definitely don't want to be putting it on your body. So look at the ingredients. and make sure you're not using toxic sunscreen that smells really strong. It's actually carcinogenic. I always recommend racing with a visor as opposed to a baseball cap, because the heat is, comes out of 20% of the heat in your body comes out of the top of your head. And if you have a baseball cap on, it can actually make you a lot hotter. And it is going to be like 85 to 95 degrees. So definitely, I recommend a visor. And then the race belt, right? So this is the race belt, which is actually, I'll show it on, this one is the race belt. And that's where you put your race number. And then I always bring an extra pair of contacts. So this is from a different race company, but you get this is your helmet number, this is your bike number, and this is your race number. And so this is where it goes on the front of your helmet here. This is your run number. And then 2 days before the race, we talked about you want to take the day off, okay? And hydrate. So honestly, it's going to be hot, right? Electrolytes are really, really important. Healthy electrolytes. Make sure you're not eating any crappy like Gatorade. No good. Boo on the Gatorade. There's a lot of healthier options out there. Honestly, real sea salt is a great electrolyte. Make sure you really get good sleep on Friday night before the race, 2 days before the race, because it's typical on Saturday night before the race to not sleep that well. And then look over your checklist, right? So the morning before the race, I do recommend a little bit of a warm up, a short swim, a short bike, and a short run up with a few of those ORPs. If possible, you would do it on the course. I don't know if they're going to let you swim on the race course the day before the race or not. And check the weather. I mean, we've had a lot of rain lately, but it's always been in the afternoon. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be clear in the morning, but check the wind, all that kind of stuff. And then after you do your warm up, come back home, have a big lunch. I would rather you have a bigger lunch and a smaller dinner. You don't need a carbo load you do not need a giant bowl of pasta for this race. You will end up feeling heavy and bloated. So just eat normal the day before the race. We're going to go over nutrition in a minute. But try to get off your feet and rest and get to bed early so you can get up and have a good race. And then you can party when you cross the finish line. So this is an important fact. It is your responsibility to know the race course. So we're going to review the maps in a minute, but even if a volunteer directs you a certain direction and it's wrong, it's still not their fault. So it's up to you to really know. So that's where I would recommend driving the bike course on Saturday or Friday, or definitely just looking on the course map, and driving the run course, or maybe pedaling around on the run course. But we're going to go through that in a minute. Here it is. Okay, so basically the green is the swim course. The blue is the transition area, and the red is the bike course, and the run is the orange line. Okay, so this is the run course. I thought I switched these, but let's go to the bike. Here's the bike course. So here's transition. You just did the swim here, and now you're going to go out into 5 mile out and back. I'm not sure if it's 1 or 2 loops. Let's see, 10 miles. It might be 2 loops of that route. I'm not particularly sure. I haven't done this race in a while. I'm pretty sure it might be 2 loops of the 5 miles, or maybe just 1 loop. So definitely have to check that on the website. And then going back to the run course, same thing. I'm not sure if it's 1 or 2 loops, but it is. Okay, so the run is 2 loops. So this is a 1.5 mile loop, and you want to do it twice. So I don't see any information that the bike is also 2 loops. I think it might be though. So definitely want to make sure if this is 5 miles, obviously you would do it twice. And there are a lot of turns, right, on the bike. So just make sure that you're really good at handling. You want to stay on the right-hand side of the road. We're going to talk about the rules in a minute. But this is an example of a transition area. So this is me. This is my old tri bike. This bike is actually for sale if anybody's interested. But I leave my shoes on the bike. I have everything ready to go. I have my helmet open, my sunglasses inside, ready to go. And I actually have a video of how to do a transition. And this is just an example of a transition area and some of my athletes ready to race. But you can see there's a lot of people in there, right? So you want to get to the race site early on race morning to find your transition spot. And it's usually labeled with your race number. So if your race number is 205, you would be on a race rack between 205 and 210 maybe. So that you would just want to find your spot on the race rack. And if you can, you want to have it close to an aisleway, right? So let's talk about breakfast. As I said, this is not a live webinar. So Obviously, I'm not going to ask you to put what you're going to have for breakfast, but I do recommend real food for breakfast. So a lot of times people will eat sports nutrition for breakfast. And in all honesty, sports nutrition is not healthy, right? It's pure sugar most of the time. And you don't want to be eating pure sugar unless you're actually moving and needing it to train and exercise, right? You don't want to have it when there's a possibility of having real food that you can eat that's real protein, real fat, and real carbohydrate. You always want to choose that first. So I definitely recommend having real food for breakfast. So my favorite is 2 eggs and half a sweet potato for breakfast. And then beets are also an amazing source of carbohydrate that give you actually a little bit extra energy. And they've actually done studies when you train and race with beets, you actually have a better performance. So something to consider for training and racing. And definitely don't try anything new on race day nutrition wise. You want to practice with this stuff. So tried and true breakfast, something you've practiced before. The typical is oatmeal, right? Oatmeal is the typical go-to, but honestly, our oatmeal in our country, unfortunately, is toxic. And it's full of pesticides and chemicals, and it actually doesn't give you any nutrition. So I don't recommend oatmeal ever. So if you're gonna have a carbohydrate, a sweet potato is definitely the way to go, like I said, or beets. And you might say, ooh, beets, but actually they have fermented beets at in Whole Foods and Trader Joe's in little packages right now that taste delicious, and they're already pre-cooked. We talked about hydrating the day before and the morning of with coconut water or an electrolyte drink. Again, look at the ingredients. You want to stay healthy here. The day before the race, I recommend lunch being the biggest meal of the day, and you want to have a good ratio of fat, carbs, and protein. So a good example would be, again, the sweet potatoes, some chicken, and some cooked broccoli for lunch. You want to stay away from high fiber. Like you wouldn't want to have a giant salad the night before the race, because it definitely could come back to haunt you on race day with lots of bathroom visits, which we don't want. So just stick to one ingredient foods and have a bigger lunch than dinner, but definitely no need to carbo load with a big bowl of pasta. So hydrate, 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 add a little sea salt to that water for your electrolyte balance. Okay. So like I said, 2 eggs, half a sweet potato with almond butter or just regular butter is a great pre-race breakfast. If you want to do a smoothie, that's fine. But remember, you need more than just protein. You want to add like a banana with your protein in there and some coconut water. I do have a blog on my website, Tried and True Pre-Race Breakfast, that you can check out. Another good one is smoked salmon with avocado. That's actually an awesome pre-race breakfast. Again, you want to practice that. And then you would also want to, I recommend about 20 minutes before the swim start to have a little bit of extra calories, because you're honestly going to be burning a lot of calories setting up your race transition area and all that kind of stuff. So having a banana or a gel or maple syrup packet, 20 minutes before the swim start will just help you. And then the only other time for a sprint distance race, I would recommend having another gel on the bike. Like at the 5-mile mark on the bike, I would have a second gel of 100 calories. And remember, you have to handle your bike while you're eating. You don't stop to eat, or you can have calories in your water bottle as well. So about 100 calories midway on the bike. And if your run is gonna take longer than 30 minutes, you could have another gel at the beginning of the run. But remember, it takes 20 minutes for your gel to absorb into your bloodstream and be useful. So if you're at mile 2 on the run and you take a gel, it's not going to help you during the race. It'll help you feel good after, right? So timing your nutrition is important. And then for drinking, you want to take a sip every 10 minutes of your water bottle, whether that has calories in it or not. I use plain Vitargo. It has 1 ingredient. But there's other options for gels and healthier options for sports nutrition out there. Okay. So stick to your plan. Caffeine. So some people, use coffee as an ergogenic aid. Some people don't. Now, you definitely don't want to use coffee if you're not used to it. But if you are used to it, I do recommend having a little bit of extra caffeine on that bike gel, right? So you have your normal caffeine the morning of the race, nothing extra, because you don't want to have your heart rate get too high. And then I would, on the gel, on the bike, that's where I'd have a little bit more caffeine, just so you have a little oomph to finish the run. Caffeine is really helpful in longer distance races as well, but you don't want to take it the whole time because you kind of get immune to it. And if you don't drink coffee normally, please do not add it now, because it can actually cause a lot of problems with a too high of a heart rate and actually cause you to have a panic attack, especially in the swim. So don't do caffeine unless you've trained with it. So as we talked about it, never try anything new on race day. Wake up 2 to 3 hours before the race. You want to eat at least 300 calories for breakfast. So we talked about the 2 eggs and a banana or a sweet potato, and then have that gel about 20 minutes before the race, something you've eaten before. And don't forget all your stuff for the race. Don't forget to pick up your timing chip before you head to the water. And also make sure your tires for the bike are pumped up appropriately. This is outdated. They actually recommend 90 PSI now, not 120. I've been doing this a long time, so this was the old recommendation. You will have numbers for your, say your race number is 205, like we said, you would have numbers to put on your arm and on your bike. So we're going to show you the transition area again with all the numbers on it. But you want to have that visible on your arm, right? Arrive early to the waist side, as we talked about. Pick up your packet if you haven't gotten it already, and find a good spot on your transition area. Remember where you are in transition. You know, you're going to be coming in from the swim, and sometimes you get disoriented, or you're coming in from the bike and you don't remember where you are. So just remember to orient yourself in the transition area, where the swim in is, where you're coming in from the swim, where the bike out is, coming back in from the bike, and where the run out is. And then of course, where the finish line is. Okay. So before the race, I do recommend a warm up. So I would set up your transition area, put your running shoes on, and then go head out for like a 10-minute run. I would go check out the race site, right? See where the swim start is, find out where the bathrooms are, see where the finish line is. And then some people do warm up on the bike. If you're newer, I would skip it, but it is something for the future. If you wanted to warm up on the bike, that's an option. And then definitely you want to warm up on the swim, but you don't go to the swim warm up until you're ready to actually start your race. Okay. So to set up your transition area, are you going to wear socks or no socks? That's an option. And if you want to learn how to, race with no socks, I do recommend learning how to do that, because putting dry socks on wet feet can be a struggle. And you want to set up your transition area in order of use, right? So you're going to have your bike shoes before your run shoes, if you have bike shoes. Have your sunglasses open, your helmet open. Everything is ready to just put on your body, so you're not fumbling with, opening your helmet buckle and all that good stuff. Watch out for your neighbors and visualize, and check it again. You want to get your swim gear, so your goggles and your swim cap that they gave you for the race start, and you want to head to the swim start, and then you want to get a mandatory swim warm up in. Now, it's not mandatory for the race, but it is mandatory if you want to have a good swim. You need to warm up. The water here is in a lake. It's dark, and there are grasses and stuff at the bottom. So you don't want that to be a surprise if you jump in the water when the race starts. You want to have experienced it and swam to the buoy and back once or twice. For me, I'll warm up, a minimum of 400 to 700 yards before a 500-yard swim. And I will include those ORPs, those over race pace pickups. Okay. Then you want to visualize your race from start to finish. You could start doing that now, right? Things to consider. Are you going to leave your shoes in your pedals? Are you going to wear socks or not socks? I don't recommend doing it for the first time this weekend. You really haven't trained it, but it's something to consider in the future. Pacing is really, really important. You definitely don't want to start fast. You do not want to start fast, because typically you'll end last. That's a saying, right? You want to start each thing slower than you think you should, and then get your breath under control, get your heart rate under control, and then start to pick it up. If you need to. If you don't want to, just stay the same pace the whole time. Take walk breaks on the run. Do whatever you need to finish, but don't start fast. That's like number one rule, okay? So remember, the chip is on the left ankle. Are you going to wear a speed suit? And remember the tinted or clear goggles. And I do recommend putting the goggles underneath your swim cap as an anchor, so that they don't pop off, just in case. Elastic laces are a great tip, because it's honestly a little bit difficult sometimes to tie your shoelaces when your heart rate's high and you're tired from the bike. We don't have to worry about the bridge in this race. Okay, so the warm-up is complete. You're heading to the race start. Go to the bathroom one more time. And then you've already done your warm-up. Now it's up to you. Are you going to hang out and talk to others, or are you going to go within and kind of get serious and focus on your race? Totally up to you. Make sure your swim cap is on and you're lining up with the proper people with the same color swim cap. Don't miss your swim start. There will be, maybe 7:03, 7:06 that they're starting the waves, and visualize your whole race. Positive self-talk, right? It's really, really important to say, I'm excited, bubble, bubble, breathe, or swim, swim, kick, 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 or focus on the where you are in the moment. Instead of saying to yourself, oh, I hope I don't drown in the swim. Don't say stuff like that. Like that's not appropriate and it won't help you, right? So really talk positively to yourself about your experience. And if someone passes you and you feel like, you're upset about it, just be like, hey, I want to be like that person the next race, right? I had like I think she was 76-year-old lady pass me one time in a try, and I'm like, man, I want to be like her when I grow up, um so swim start. So this is a picture of me with team thumbs up if you're ever interested in racing with challenged athletes. So both of these athletes have cerebral palsy, and we pull them or push them in the triathlon. So if you're ever interested in being a part of something like that, please reach out. We always need volunteers. Okay, so we talked about the swim. Know what wave you're in, wear your goggles underneath your swim cap. Fins are not allowed, but snorkels are allowed. Seed yourself accordingly. Okay, so what does that mean? In the race, you don't want to be in the very front of the swim start if you're not a strong swimmer. Kind of go in the middle to the back, but don't be the last person, right? Don't be the very last person, because it just means you're going to be running in the heat, okay? So if you trained at all and you're ready to do the race, do not be the last person in your wave, okay? Sight, sight, sight. Remember, you have to look where you're going to make the swim course. You have to sight for the buoys. You're going to go out, and most likely the buoys are going to be on your right or on your left. I don't know. I haven't seen how they set it up. So you're going to swim every 5 strokes. You want to look up to see where you're going, okay? You don't want to just swim, 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 because you could just swim right past the buoy and be out there. Instead of 500 yards, you could be out there 1,000 yards, right? The good news is you can rest with a lifeguard if you need to, okay? And then you want to swim until 2 hands touch the mud, right? You're going to be coming out of the mud in the lake, right? So if you see the bottom, don't try to stand up. Just swim until you can touch the shore, okay? So sometimes this is what the swim start looks like. But the good news is they only have you start like one or two people at a time now. So it's not a mass start anymore. So what happens if you do have a panic attack? Okay. And it's actually more common than you might think, especially if you do not warm up. You need to warm up. Promise me you're going to warm up on the run, and you're going to warm up on the swim. Okay. So practice panic attacks in training. So like even maybe Friday or Saturday morning, go out and swim like, 20 or 30 strokes as hard as you can, and then recover by swimming, not stopping. Float on your back, maybe switch to breaststroke, and make your own rescue plan, okay? You can rest with a lifeguard. It's completely legal, and you can even swim from lifeguard to lifeguard to lifeguard if you get freaked out. And this is a serious thing. This is not a joke, right? People have died in the swim from not taking it seriously. So this is real, right? You are a land mammal. You're in the water. It is risky. If you haven't trained properly, which I really hope you have, you can hurt yourself, right? And if you need help, hire a coach, right? So if you do constantly have panic attacks in the swim, it just means that your fitness isn't there. Okay. And we can also do some psychological help. Like I have some tips and tricks to help you overcome fear. Like maybe you had trauma from being as a kid, you got thrown in the water. I can totally help you, right? I have tools for that. So as you come out of the water, obviously we're not going to be wearing a wetsuit, so we don't have to worry about it. I'm pretty sure I don't know what this is. Okay, so anyway, you want to find your bike. Okay. So let's get to your transit. Okay, here it is. Here's a video for the transition. Running up from the beach. The first thing I do is put my swim cap and my goggles on the floor, put on my bike shoes. Put on my sunglasses, my helmet buckled. You must buckle your helmet before you touch your bike. You can't grab your bike off the rack until your helmet is buckled. And remember to cover your forehead. So then you're gonna run with your bike out of transition. You cannot mount your bike inside transition. So you're gonna go get on your bike, take your time, get out of the way, and make sure you start your bike in an easy gear, right? So then coming back in, you're gonna dismount at the dismount line, safely dismount your bike, walk or run with your bike back to your transition area, right? Rack the bike by the seat, take your helmet off. There will be someone running with their helmet on. It always happens. And make sure your helmet is on the right way. You know, you'll usually see someone racing with their helmet on backwards as well. So I have elastic laces in my shoes. So I slip my shoes on like slippers, and then I literally leave, and that's it, right? So I'm ready to go. And that's it for the transition, okay? So safety on the bike. Your helmet must be snapped and buckled before you unrack your bike. If you take your bike off and your helmet is not buckled, you can get a penalty. Now, there are rules on the bike. You must stay on the right-hand side of the road the entire time, and you pass on the left, okay? And you want to let the person you're passing know that you're passing them by saying on your left, and then always look behind you first to make sure no one is passing you to avoid a bike accident. Now, you're not allowed to draft on the bike course, which means you need 3 bike lengths between you and the cyclist in front of you. If not, you are drafting, and that is illegal. You are cheating, okay? So no drafting. If you find yourself behind another cyclist, you have to pass them or drop back. You cannot sit there and draft off of them. Now, if you do pass someone, you can pass them back, but you have to wait until those 3 bike lengths are separated, okay? And I have another video for you that. And then start in an easy gear and finish in an easy gear so that you can have, lighter legs when you start the run. You definitely don't want to mount inside the transition area. You have to mount past the mount line and dismount before the dismount line. I hope that makes sense. And then careful running in your cycling shoes. And a skill that you can learn for the future is a flying dismount, which I actually have a video for. So no drafting on the bike. You must stay 3 bike lengths apart. You have 15 seconds to pass someone. You only pass on the left. There is no passing on the right. If you pass someone on the right, you are risking your life and you could have an accident. Do not do that. Let someone you know that you're passing them on your left. And like I said, you can pass them back. So here is the rules of USA Triathlon. So let's watch this video. Let's go bigger. Here we go.
USAT has many rules regulating the sport of triathlon. The rules that you'll need to be aware of while on the bike are the ones governing drafting and positioning. When riding in a triathlon, it is stated that you must ride to the far right side of the road and only pass on the left. When you're passing another cyclist in a race, you only have 15 seconds. That means once you initiate a pass, your front wheel must break the plane of the front wheel of the rider being passed. Passing someone who is just slightly slower than you, make certain to gather your strength and make a firm pass where you'll be able to move to the right after the pass. If someone passes you quite fast, that is no problem whatsoever. You will not have to alter your riding at all. If you want to repass the rider, you must first move out of the drafting zone before mounting your counterattack.
All right, so I hope that answered any questions. So transition 2, you're gonna come off the bike as we talked about, and then you're gonna walk or run with your bike to your transition area, right? You wanna find where you were. You don't wanna put your bike anywhere else. Do not take off your helmet until you have racked the bike, okay? So you put the bike seat on the rack and then you undo your helmet. Then you would take off your bike shoes, grab your visor, grab your run belt, and you would head out and start your run. Okay. So T2 stands for transition 2. I highly recommend getting elastic laces because it just definitely does save times. And headphones are not allowed on the bike and the run. They're not allowed. They're illegal. But you can bring a phone on the bike, but you can't play music from it. Okay. So just be warned. So this is a more advanced transition from my, so this is me with a wetsuit just for future. So you would take it off while you're running. It's a fun skill to master. So again, sunglasses on, helmet on the right way, not upside down, not backwards. You'll see someone riding with their bike with your helmet backwards. Happens all the time. Now here I've left my bike shoes on the bike. So I actually pedal with the shoe, my feet on top of the pedals, and then I put my feet inside the shoe while I'm moving. So it really saves time on my transition. I put my feet inside the shoe. That's what the loop on the back of your tri shoe is for. And then the same thing when I come back, I put my foot on top of the shoe, pedal, pedal, pedal. And then I do a flying dismount, which definitely you want to practice. Right? It's very easy to learn. Anyone can do it. Then I rack the bike and undo the helmet. Put my run shoes on quickly. Again, slipping in them on. It's the baby powder in there can help. I grab my visor and I'm off. Okay. So pacing is racing. Take each discipline at your own ability. Like don't push hard unless you've trained it. If you just take your time and you're smooth from start to finish, you're going to have a much better experience and maybe you won't have to walk, right? If you walk, who cares? No big deal, right? So pacing is racing. Know your zones. If you want to learn this stuff, I'm happy to help you. I'd love to help you learn what heart rate you should hold on the bike, what heart rate you should hold on the run. Maybe if you want to learn how to use a power meter on the bike, this is what a coach can help you with. And you want to know your edge because you don't want to cross your edge and blow up. So if you've heard of blowing up on the race, it's not fun and you don't feel good doing it. Make sure your nutrition and hydration is really dialed in. And mental skills is a huge aspect of the sport. Staying positive. A great book, if you want to read it, is called How Bad Do You Want It by Matt Fitzgerald. There's so many good mental skills books out there. But he talks a lot about triathletes actually. And then what you tell yourself when you're hurting is really important. Like it's important not to tell yourself negative things like, oh my God, you suck, you have to walk, or whatever the case is. Instead, just think, okay, breathe deep, fast arms, fast feet, or, just be grateful that you're out there and you get to race. It's a privilege, right? So plan for the what ifs. Remember why you're out there and have some mantras. I'd love for you to share some mantras with me if I see you at race day or before the race. One of my mantras for the swim is strong and long. So I reach as long as I can and then I pull hard. So it's long and strong, long and strong. Another mantra would be like kick, 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 kick. If you're one of those people that doesn't kick a lot in the swim. So take some 5 minutes all week, the next few days, and really imagine your perfect race from start to finish. The power of your subconscious mind is incredible. So if you see yourself going through the swim and breathing properly and having good technique and feeling good, and then doing the bike and you feel strong and you're eating while you're drinking on the bike, and then you have the run and you're fluid and you got fast arms and fast feet, the more likely you envision that in your head, the more likely it's going to happen. Okay. Your subconscious mind is very powerful. Michael Phelps has some great YouTube videos as well. I mean, he said he would rehearse his races thousands of times, and guess what? His results speak for themselves. So highlights, remember follow your race plan, not anyone else's. Visualize, like I mentioned some mantras: bubble, bubble, breathe, I got this, I can and I will, I can and I will. Don't forget to thank your volunteers, right? So everybody's out there not getting paid. And we're all celebrating you out there on the race course. So always be kind to your fellow athletes and smile even when it hurts. All right, you guys, post race, just remember you can get your results. I'm pretty sure right away, so you can see how well you did. Never leave until you've seen if you made it the podium. You might get on the podium. Believe it or not, your very first race, even if it's your first time, you might get on the podium, top 3. And then also take the time to kind of recap the race. Say what went well, what didn't. Maybe you decided not to do the swim warm up and you really didn't feel good during the swim. Maybe that'll encourage you to do it next time, right? So make sure you do a post-race report and, return your chip. They're going to give you that and you get a finisher's medal. But again, check to see if you made it on the podium. Don't forget to recover, hydrate well, and you have good nutrition, but give yourself a reward, maybe a beer or some pizza. You worked hard, you deserve it. Remember to have fun and socialize. So bonus tips. If you don't want to race with socks, it's definitely something that'll help you have a better transition in number 2, T2, but you definitely want to practice. So how you would do it is you would use baby powder and Vaseline, non-petroleum Vaseline in your shoe, anywhere you rub inside the shoe, and run barefoot for run with no socks for about 5 minutes, and then come back and put your socks on. And then repeat that process until you build up to about 30 minutes. And the baby powder and the non-petroleum lubrication will really help you not get a blister. It's good to use in worn out shoes, meaning shoes you've worn before, not brand new shoes. But it is a kind of a fun thing to do for the future. Let's see. Oh, this is a video of me doing some. This is the baby Vaseline from Whole Foods, which has no petroleum in it. So I just put it in my shoes where there might be any rubbing, and I use some baby powder to absorb water. So if my feet are wet from the swim or I'm sweating a lot, the baby powder will absorb any moisture to prevent blisters and help me slide my foot right in. All right, so pre-swim breath work. I promise you guys. So we're right at a little over an hour. Hope you're still with me. So this breath work is game changer. And I do have an Instagram about this as well. You can scroll back and see. But we're going to do it 1 round. And I recommend 3 to 4 rounds before the swim. So you've already warmed up in the water. You've set up your transition. You're ready to race. And you're waiting for your race to start. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to stand there, you have really good posture, and I want you to inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth, like vigorously. So I'm going to demonstrate, and it's going to look a little funny. And if you are willing to, do it with me. So we're going to go 30 breaths. That was 10. Ten more. It's okay if you get a little dizzy. You can grab your knees. Last 10. Now you're going to exhale. Last time, exhale. Hold your breath out as long as you can. Hold your breath. So ideally about 30 seconds. If you don't make it to 30, that's okay. Now inhale and hold your breath again. Okay, so ideally another 30 seconds. And then you would repeat that cycle 3 more times. Now, what that does is it hyper oxygenates your blood so that even say you go out a little bit too hard on the swim or you're feeling anxious, just because there's more oxygen in your bloodstream, you won't feel restricted. Your lungs will be expanded already, and it just helps you prevent that panic attack. It is a total game changer. So try it out and let me know how it works. And like I said, maybe try it before a training session. So as promised, we are offering you 1 week of free coaching with Full Circle Coaching, and it's virtual. So even if you aren't local, it doesn't matter, but you do have to accept the invitation within 30 days of IguanaMan. And we would love to have you. You have to opt in from the email, and then we would set up a call because I'd want to get to know you better and about your goals. And then I would give you your training plan, and we have coach calls, and you kind of get a taste of what it's like to work with me as a client. And like I said, I've worked with thousands of triathletes all over the world, and it doesn't matter if you're a beginner and you just want to do a better race next time, or if maybe you have a dream of doing an Ironman. I will get you there sooner than if you train on your own. So I would love to help you. Obviously, we're not live, so we don't have any question and answer right now. But if you do have any questions, please, please, please DM me on Instagram or email me back from the email with this recording, and I'd love to help you. All right, so that's it. All right, guys, have a great day. Wishing you well. Have an awesome race. Go IguanaMan. Bye.